today is going to be about networking, and I've decided to do this program today primarily because of Austin Tech Happy Hour. I'm embarrassed to say that as much as I advertise Network After Work, I have never gone to Network After Work. And I have to say that the prospect of being in a room with 200 people and trying to meet somebody or network with somebody, I'm like, yuck. But Sean has made networking, he's helped me so much with giving me tricks of the trade. And I have to say that when I go to Austin Tech Happy Hour, he usually arrives early. He meets people before it gets loud and noisy, and then he runs interference for me. And by the time I get there after work, because I have to work so late, he says, okay, I've lined up 5 people who want to meet you. Here's their business cards. Here's the kind of people they're trying to hire. Come there. So I don't really do a whole lot of networking unless he's gone. And then I am thrown on my own devices and I have to do it. But there are tricks to this. We've had several presentations by T.J. Johnson on how to network, but I believe that those networking presentations are pretty much how do you strike up a conversation, when you're in the grocery store, when you're at sitting in a little meeting like this, or you're in a class, or it's smaller venues, fewer people, but it's all about sort of how to get started. You try to do that approach in a noisy bar with a lot of, it doesn't exactly work. It's very hard to engage somebody. And so how long have you been in Austin? And, it just doesn't fit that venue sometimes. People are at those venues to make connections. It's strategic. They're there for a purpose. They're there to meet people. They're there to learn about companies. They're there to get a free drink. I don't know. They're there for a very specific purpose. And so I believe, and Sean is probably excellent at both of these kinds of networking. So I believe that it takes a different kind of networking to succeed in those places, and that it helps tremendously for you to be prepared, to have a goal, to know exactly what you're there for, and then get to work. And so I have a handout that you can pass out, and some of this is things that Sean has taught us. And I believe I've told you this story before, but the foundation of this approach came from a lady who was an expert on networking. She lives in New York City. Her name is Lynch. She has written a number of books on networking. And she, I believe, worked for a huge public relations firm and then decided to go into business for herself. And so she created her name, did a DBA, got some funding, had an office, and sat there waiting for customers, and then remembered, oops, nobody's going to feed me these customers. I have to do my own marketing. I have to sell my services. How am I going to do that? So she saw that there was going to be a big meeting, some kind of a professional gathering, and she decided that she would attend and try to drum up some business. And she said, altogether, she was at this meeting 5 minutes, and 3 of those minutes were checking in her coat and checking out her coat. Because she checked in her coat, she went into the room where there were lots of people, professionals, talking. It was a huge room, hundreds of people, and she was suddenly bewildered. How do I do this? How do I sell myself? How do I meet people? How do I promote myself? She had no idea what she was supposed to do or how to get started. And so she left. And she then decided that if she could create a goal, a purpose, it would help her so much more. And she said the next time she targeted certain industries. And so she felt that she had some background promoting, I think it was environmental science, industries, companies. And so the next time she went to the networking groups, she would walk up to somebody and she'd say, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm looking for people engaged in environmental science activities or companies that have something to do with the environment. have you encountered anybody like that here? And if they had, then she would say, that's great, can you point them out to me? Can you take me to them? Do you see them here? And if not, it was a wonderful way to move on. Maybe they would say, well, and why do you need those people? And she said, well, I have a PR firm and I've worked with companies like that before. Oh, well, I work for ABC Company and we might be looking for a PR person. Yeah. So sometimes that initial conversation can lead to something that's a little bit unexpected. But sometimes she could just say, well, thank you so much. I don't want to take you from your conversation. I'll keep looking. And then she could go up to somebody else. So just knowing what you're looking for, what industry you're trying to find a representative from, maybe people that represent specific companies. Sometimes people in, have you encountered anybody here in sales? I'm looking for somebody in technical sales or whatever. And so then when you meet somebody in technical sales, you can say, hi, I'm in sales as well, but I've been working for ABC for a long time, and I don't really know exactly how to get started, and I wanted to connect with somebody else in this industry and see if you'd be willing to meet with me, grab some coffee, and give me some advice. So you're looking for representatives of specific companies, you're looking for representatives of certain industries, and I believe you're looking for representatives of in certain career areas. All of those people, once you target them and start talking to them, might be useful to you. And then I think also, if you look down under goals, if you find somebody who maybe is a consultant, or you find somebody who's in in some sort of an executive or senior position, you might just ask them, tell them that you're new to the job search world, that you've been new to Austin, or you've been working in the same company for a long time, and you're trying to just kind of put your toe in the water and see what's available, and ask if this person might be willing to meet with you briefly. And that can just be somebody who is well connected in Austin. That can be anybody. And so that's D, under set goals and try to meet. And then E, I think that everybody, whether you come to a Launchpad meeting, whether you go to a network after work meeting, you always should say, and I have a wild card. I want to meet somebody, not for any purpose, not because they're in a category. I just want to meet somebody to say that I reached out and I met an interesting person. And so maybe you, and I think that it's helpful if you look around the whole room and you try to choose somebody that you think is the most different person you can find from you. Maybe somebody in a different age group. Maybe if you're a button-up 55-year-old and you're wearing a suit and and you see somebody that looks like, oh, I forgot her name. Salamander, what's her name? Salamander, yeah, the one from the girl with the dragon tattoo. Somebody who's pierced and tattooed and 20 years old and so forth. Strike up a conversation with that person and see if they'll even talk to you. See if they see you. Sometimes it's like you're invisible, but see if they see you, and say, I gotta say, you're the most interesting person in this room, and I wanted to come over and meet you. And that's a great way to get started, don't you think? And so whether you say, I've got a granddaughter that she's got, wall-to-wall tattoos as well. And with hers, each one means something. Does each one of yours mean something? Or, I don't know, you have a conversation. And I think it's good for that person to interact with somebody from a different culture, from a different race, from a different age group, from a different country, somebody, and I think it's good for us too, to kind of reach out. Yes?
I was going to say, there was a great little post on LinkedIn this week about this guy, his signature are orange shoes. And the one person he really wanted to meet with to get as a venture capitalist, all these people were trying to get the guy to talk with them, and the guy that he wanted to talk to, he didn't even go up to try to talk to him. The guy was like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to that guy wearing those shoes. And that's like his thing. He was like, just pick your thing that people might recognize in order to make you sort of stand out and memorable.
And be memorable. Mostly in a good way, but always in an interesting way.
Yes.
Okay, so you'll notice under Be Prepared, when you're going to go to anywhere where you might be able to interact or meet people, and your goal is not necessarily, can they help me find a job? That might be your long-term goal, but your short-term goal is just, I want to connect with some people. I want to meet some people outside of my normal range, and I want to connect with them. And so, hygiene, enough said. Dress business casual, generally, if you're going to a networking meeting. Great tip from Sean, have your resume already inside your phone. So if you meet somebody that says, I might know somebody who could use you, great, let me shoot you my resume. It's right there, embedded in your phone. Have your business cards already. Make sure that your name on your business card is large enough for people to read. Make sure you put your name and your occupation on your name tag. That's another great hint from Sean. Try to do as much research as you can in advance. I think there are 2 companies that are sponsoring Austin Tech Happy Hour. One of them is Osco. It's a software company. That's all I remember. Always research the sponsoring companies. What is their product? What is their product or service? Look on their website. Look on their career page. See if they're hiring anybody. And it could very well be that they have lots of other openings besides just what's posted. But at least be aware of that. It's almost like going into an interview where you're not prepared, and the first question is, so what do you know about us? And you're like, I don't really know. What do you people do here? Kind of like the worst thing. So see if you can have the time to do a little bit of research. A little bit goes a long way. In fact, I'll tell you, I've started adding this story to my interview class that I teach at the Workforce Solutions office. So it's all about one of the 3 most frequently asked first questions in an interview is, what do you know about us? And it gives you an opportunity to show that you've done a bunch of research, of course. So both of my sons work in the semiconductor-related industry, and one of them got his job right out of college. And those of you who graduated, you know that when you're senior year, all these companies come and they set up interviews. And so my son at that time didn't know if he wanted to go to graduate school or if he wanted to go get a job. But he had 2 hours in between classes, and he happened to be past the place where they were doing some interviews. So he saw AMD was there, and he decided he would just sign up. He didn't know if he really wanted a job. He thought he'd just use it as practice. So while he was waiting for the interview, they had all these brochures and marketing materials from the various interviewing companies that were there. So he picks up the AMD brochure, reads it through, and talks about their product, maybe a little bit about their history, I don't know, what kinds of companies they sell to, some little stuff. And so he walks into the interview, and the very first question the guy asked him was, so what do you know about advanced micro devices? And he told everything that he just read in the brochure. And the guy said, wow, I have been asking that question of graduating seniors for the last 15 years. That is the best answer I have ever heard. Really? Sometimes it doesn't take a lot of research to make a good impression. But know the basics. So research the company. If you go to a place where there's a speaker, research the speaker. Know a little bit about their background. What else? Sometimes even if it's a unique venue, what's going on? Like let's say that there's a presentation happening at the AT&T Thompson Center at UT. Know a little bit even about the venue, not only where it is, but what's the significance of it? Who sponsors that? What's going on there? This computer science thing that I announced to you before, that is being held at the Delco Center. Anybody know who that's named after? Wilhelmina Delco. Anybody tell us who Wilhelmina Delco was? What? She did not make the battery. Okay. Anybody know who she was? Yeah, she was a politician. Was she a state representative? I think so, for a long time. Long time. Very smart lady, good friend of Ann Richards and all of that ilk. Whether you're for 'em or against 'em, that's where she was. She was in that ilky place. Okay. I also think that it's a good idea to go to a networking event with a friend. And I've debated and debated about this because you shouldn't really look for a job with a friend. You shouldn't go to an interview with a friend. But a networking thing, I think sometimes when you go with somebody, it somewhat empowers you. And so, whereas you might feel a little bit awkward walking up to a group of people that are already engaged, and here you are trying to, enter into their little world, and especially if you were short, it's difficult. You're like, yeah, it's hard to do that. But if you're with somebody, then you can walk up to somebody who is not talking to anybody, and it's easy to say, come join our group, come tell us a little bit about you. Is this your first time to come here? And you can be the welcomer. It's easier to do that when you are strengthened by having somebody else. But don't just talk to that other person that you already know the whole time, because then you've squandered a wonderful networking opportunity. Yes, Sean?
One thing with the networking events, probably one of the best things you can do is get there early. Because a lot of recruiters get there early. And that way you can get FaceTime with them and talk with them without having to scream at each other 3 feet apart because there's 200 people there. Get there early because that gives you first dibs on as they come in the door.
That's right. And if they're serving food, you have it. Okay, so that's very true. I always get there late, and I have to say that by the time I get there, not only is it really full and really noisy, and but people have been drinking for a while, and it's difficult. It does make it harder. So I wish I could go early. So that's great advice. So. Another little piece of advice that Sean gave us is when you first go to a big networking meeting, go up to the sponsors, whoever is there representing the sponsors. At Austin Tech Happy Hour, the sponsors always have a table, and they have a table where they're giving away free things, or they'll have a table where they're explaining the business and so forth. But almost always they have a table. If not, ask the name tag people. Where are the people representing the sponsoring organization? Go up to those people, and you get to start out by saying, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sponsoring this. It looks like a great turnout, and I appreciate the fact that you put your name behind it. Now, are you folks looking for people? Or you can even say, I looked on your website and I saw that you've got a few openings listed. I'm a technical trainer. Do you ever have need for people with that skill set? Sometimes it's not a good idea to say, are you hiring anybody else? Are you looking for anybody else? But to say, here's what I do. Do you ever use people like that? And if they say, well, occasionally we do. This is great. Would it be possible for me to just send you a copy of my resume, and perhaps next time you have an opening in that field, you could consider me, and see if they'll take that. And if they say no, we don't even use people like that, or we hardly ever hire people like that, then you might say, but I represent, because this is where it's not all about you and what you need, it's how can you help them. And this is where you say, look, I'm a member of a number of different networking groups for job seekers, and I know that we have people with these particular skills that you're looking for in some of those groups. So could I have your business card, and I'll see if I can find some people that are qualified, and I'll send them your way. Another thing you might ask is, does your company have, and make notes about all of this stuff, have a little notebook and say, does your company have a recruiter program where if you recommend somebody, you get a finder's fee or a bonus or something like that? If so, should people, if they feel they're qualified, should they send a resume directly to you, or should they name you, or should they just apply in the regular way? So whatever, but you're trying to help them as well. And that also empowers you. It's just like when Sean goes to those meetings, he's empowered because he's a recruiter. And so it's not a problem for him to walk up to somebody and say, hey, Jenny, because Jenny just has her name on her name tag. So that's Sean's big issue. So say, Jenny, I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for some folks. What is it that you do? What's your talent? And so that empowers him, right? I have some jobs. Are you looking for work? But even if you are not a recruiter, you can always say, that can be another opener, is to say, hi, I represent a number of networking groups. I represent a number of networking groups, and we're looking for people in certain industries. Are you looking for a job? And then find out where they used to work and start a conversation. Everybody can be helpful to you, whether they're working, hiring, unemployed. Everybody knows people who know people who know people. And so there's no one who is not a worthy investment of your time and attention. No one. All right. So you're looking for a recruit. Oh, and then let's say that you've gone to the sponsoring organization, you've thanked them, you've talked a little bit about what you do, you've gotten some information, and then you might say, I'm looking for some other recruiters from other companies. Do you know, are there some others that you can point out to me? Sometimes when I've gone to Austin Tech Happy Hour, recruiters will say recruiter on their name tag. But a lot of times, they too just have their name. So irritating. But if you say, can you point them out to me? And so then I'll find this recruiter and I'll say, hi, Tom from OSCO just told me that I should seek you out, that you're a recruiter, you're looking to hire people. I'm part of a lot of different networking groups. What kind of talent are you looking to find? So there's another opener. So you're looking for recruiters and try to get more recruiters to give you recruiters. You're looking for people from specific industries, just the way Liz Lynch did, where you say, I'm looking for somebody who's working for a web design company. Have you met anybody like that so far? So there's that. People in specific careers. I'm looking for, have you found anybody who's into holographic design? And just see if there is somebody like that. And that can change all the time. And then always your wild card person. Somebody that just looks interesting, somebody that we hope is as different from you as possible, so that at the end of every networking event that you go to, you can say, boy, I met the most interesting person. And lots of times, there are people that are quiet, solitary, kind of invisible, and that's the billionaire that likes to just sort of be by himself and watch people. We're better to watch people than all the different stuff that's going on at a networking activity. So I encourage you to do that as well. So I've told you there's some action, what to do with the sponsor table, go up to single individuals. I gave you a little script. If you want to use any of my stinking lines, you can do that. And then follow up. So there's the action, there's the preparation, there's the action, and then there's the follow-up. When you get home, make sure that you take all those business cards, all the little notes that you wrote, you add all those people into your directory if you think it's interesting. You flash off a little email to them and say, really enjoyed talking to you at the happy hour. I know you talked to a lot of people. You probably don't remember who I am. I'm the good-looking one that and I'm the good-looking one that spilled the drink on you. I'm so sorry about that still. Okay.
There are apps for storing business cards. They're free. They're very easy to use. I use CamCard. They're the handiest thing because I go back and I have stacks of cards all around the house. I don't know where I got it. I don't know when I got it. I don't remember who they are. You can put your note in. They're very
Yeah.
handy to have.
I have CamCard as well, and it's real handy. You just take a picture of the card, and all those people are added to your contact list. And so, and it's a free app. So that's another handy thing. You don't have to key everything in. So there's that. Connect with people on LinkedIn. And again, don't forget, when you connect with people on LinkedIn, don't send them the standard little, I want to connect with you on LinkedIn. Go into your, I think if you're on a phone app for LinkedIn, that's the only invitation you're allowed to send. So go into it on your computer and change the invitation and remind them, you and I met at the Austin Tech Happy Hour, just to remind you, I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn so we can stay in touch. And so do that. And then if you're going to try to connect later for a coffee meeting, for just to share information, if you've met somebody that's new in the job search market and you're not, meet with them and say, let's share information. I've been looking for a job for a long time. I can give you some ideas of things that might be useful in your job search. Maybe we can kind of help each other along this. So, it's not all how can you help me, it's also how can I help you, no matter where somebody is. Any questions about any of that?
The breaking into a conversation, I have tried this, and the first time I tried it, I really did break out in a sweat, but it worked really well. And it's because I get to Austin Tech Happy Hour so late. And so I ratchet up my courage and I go up sometimes even to people that are sitting at a table talking, and I'll say, excuse me, I just got here and I'm not going to be able to stay very long, but I'm looking for people that are recruiters looking for from technology companies. Have you met anybody like that here? And that's an easy way to do it. I just got here, and so I don't know what's going on. Have you met anybody in this role? And people are happy to tell you that stuff. Whether I think there's some recruiters right over there. I think that lady in blue is a recruiter. You can go talk to her. Or not, we're just here for the booze. We don't know anything. And then you move on. But that is an approach that's worked for me. And sometimes if you just have a line, I don't like to call it a pickup line, but, but just something that you feel comfortable with. And that was one that worked really well for me.
Thank you.